So I'm going to try to explain how I made the nav bar to scroll on that website, right? So this is the nav bar that I created. Okay, so I'm going to show you the code on how I created this nav bar. It's just basically HTML and CSS. I downloaded the buttons and then I listed them in their own individual divs. You understand? This one is in its own div. This one is in its own div, and the div of this one is in the same div with this one. You understand? I'm going to try to the div of this one here, right? It's in the same div with this one. You understand? So it's as if I dived or these two like this in one div, these two in one div, these two in one div. You understand? And then I did the same thing for all of them, and then I put all of them inside one div now, like one whole div to cover everything, right? It's as if it's just like this individual divs we have here is a child of the main div that is covering everything. All right, and then after the parent div that's covering everything, all of this menu, I have another div, right? Please try to follow me. I have another div that is covering that div as well. You understand? It's as if the div is now covering the section that contains just this menu, excluding these icons that you see here, these two things, right? I have another div that's covering the parent div of these icons you see here. All these icons you see here, I have another div covering them, right? And then after the div covering these icons, I have now another div too that is covering both these icons and these ones we have here. You understand? I'm going to clean this thing. Now I have a third div that is covering everything you see here on the nav bar, right? So like from what I just said, you can denote that I said I created 3 parent divs, right? Apart from this individual div, so I have 3 parent div. Okay, let's say 4 parent divs, right? The first div, that is the list div, is the one that is containing these characters, right? The second div is the one containing all these menus, all these characters in the menu, like this one, this one, this one, this one, and the rest of them containing in one div. That's the second div. Now the third div is the div that is containing the div that is containing these characters. You understand? Please try to understand me, right? I have one div, I have 2 div, I have 3 div, and I have a 4th div, right? The first div is containing the icons, the second div is containing all the icons, the third div is containing this div. You understand? This div is containing this div. Now this div is containing this div, which is, and this div now includes this div and then these 2 icons here, these 2 options, this arrow you see here, and then this filter option you see here, right? So I have 4 different divs, right? I want you to understand that. Now let's go ahead. I'm going to go to the code now and show you how I did this. So if you look at the code now, I'm going to try to expand it. If you look at the div now, let me expand it so that you can see it very well. Okay, you can see that in this, if you look at the code now, sorry, you can see that in this code now, I have, look at this option here. You can see this option here that is, let me get my pencil, sorry. You can see this option here that says, you can see this div here, this particular div here, right? You can see this div here and this div here. This is the opening tag, this is the closing tag. This div you see here is containing the first icon you can see on that page. Let me show you again. Let me show you that one. You can see this one here, design. That is that first div I just showed you, right? It is this div here that I just showed you. The following icons, and you can see I have the icon here, which is this one. Then I have the text under it, which is this one, right? So the same way I arrange this one, that's how I arranged every other icon there in their own respective divs. Now after that div, after the respective divs we have, I now have another div that is containing all of them, which is this icon, scroll icons 1. You can see here, scroll icons 1. You can see here, right? Then the scroll icons 1 is in another div, like I told you, which is the icon section, right? This icon section is now containing the div that is containing all the icons, right? It is called the icon section. And then this icon section is now inside another div that is containing the icon section, and then those menus I told you about. Let me show you those menus, those icons I told you about. This is the right the arrow icon I showed you, which is this one, right? And this is the filter one I showed you. You can see it's on the different divs, on the div on its own. And this div here is the parents div that I told you about, which is the icons general main. Sorry, which is the icon, this particular div here. That's what I'm talking about. Let's disregard this one. We're not working with that one for now. The icons general, right? Okay, you can see it here. Now I think we even have another div too, which is this one. That is now containing the div that contains the icons, right? So from what we are seeing here, is as if we have actually more than 4 divs actually. You understand? So we have another. Let's count it together. Let's count it together now, right? So we have the first div containing the icons, right? We have, after the first div, we have a second div, which is this one, right? We have a third div, which is this one, and then we have a fourth div, which is this one. Okay, so as you can see, I'm correct, right? So the first div is containing the icons, the second div is containing I want to explain something to you before we go ahead, right? If you look at these icons, this nav bar here now, okay, if you look at this nav bar here now, you can see that it is cut here. It's as if there's a line here. Let me get this pencil so I'll show you. It's as if there's a line here, a rigid line here, right? That is a like it's cut the icon, and then it's as if the icons are under it, and then they keep going. You understand? So that is true. It's true. I had to cut it here because when I picked this div, right, that is containing all the icons, I now did overflow hidden. You understand? So the icons are supposed to flow, are supposed to show up more and be scroll and be we have more icons here, and then they kept going down, right? But I did the div overflow hidden. That's why you just cut it here, and then any other thing that is more than the width I gave the div is going to be hidden under it, right? So this is what we have to do to achieve the scrolling effect. So I'm going to go to the style section and show you. Now look at this particular div here, right? Remember, what I want to show you here, something else is that these scroll icons we have here, there is 2 of them, right? There are 2 scroll icons. This is the first one, scroll icon 1, and we have the second one, which is scroll icons 2. Let me find it and show you. You can see it here, scroll icons 2, right? So what you can see on the website here, the first scroll icon 1 is what you can see on the screen. The scroll icon 2 is under this side. You can't see it. It is hidden under this side. Remember, I told you that the thing is going to stretch down here, but I did overflow hidden. That's why it just cut here. So the overflowing icons is just hiding under it. You understand? So the scroll icon 2 is hidden under it. So what we can see here is only the scroll icon 1. What I did is that after listing this the icons on this navigation bar, I doubled it, like I copied it and pasted it again, and then put the 2 of them, the copy and paste, to put it in 2 different divs. You understand? That's why we have the scroll icon 1 and scroll icon 2, right? Put it in 2 different divs. If you want it to be 3, you put it in 3 different divs, right? And then I put the 2 scroll icon 1 and scroll icon 2 inside another div that is containing them. So the responsibility of this particular div here is just to contain the 2 icon sections. You understand? The first icon section and the second icon section. So the responsibility of this div now, which is the one containing this icon section, is to house the whole thing. You understand? It's as if this one is like a covering for this scroll icon 1 and scroll icon 2, and then this one is like containing those 2 coverings. Now it's as if, now let's say you went to the market to buy something, you bought 2 items, they put it inside the nylon and they tie it for you, right? You bought this one, let's say this is one of the items you bought, they keep it. You bought another one, and that one is now the scroll icon 2, they keep it, and then they put the 2 of them inside a handbag for you, right? The first handbag containing the 2 items, and then they package it again and put it inside a second handbag. You understand? It's as if they're not giving you 2 handbags to contain that material you bought. That's what this thing is just trying to denote, right? It's like a house for it, for the icon that is containing the 2 icons. You understand? Excuse me. The reason why we have a 4th div is because we want to include these icons, this scrolling icon, this icon. Let me show you the icons, because we want to include this icon here. That's why we have a 4th div, so that the 4th div will now contain both the div containing this one and then these icons. That is the duty of the 4th div. You understand? So I believe we understand what the divs are doing now. So let's go ahead and see how we made the scrolling to happen. So when you come to the style section, I'm not going to show you all other effects. I'm just going to show you how I made the scrolling to happen, because if you have a knowledge of the basic HTML and CSS, you know how to arrange the icons to look this way, right? With the display flex or display grid, whatever you want to do to make it happen, you can use it. That's your business. All right. So the general icon, you can see it here, which is this one, which is this particular one that is containing the icon that is containing the two scroll sections, right? Is the one I now did the overflow hidden, and I gave it a width of 85% of the screen. You understand? So this screen here, I told the icon to contain 85% of this screen. That is why you see is as if it is cut here and then cut here. And then I give it let's go back to that place, and then I give it a margin auto, right? So that it will be placed in the middle. And then I added a padding right of 30 pixel. You understand? So this scroll behavior is just, let's just take it off so it doesn't confuse us, right? It's not needed now. So that is how, because of this overflow hidden, that's why you can see that the icon cuts here, like I told you earlier. You understand? So after you do these things, the next thing we need to do now, right, is that we now know that there are two sets of icons here. There is one, the one that is displaying, and there is one under. So how do we make it to go under? Let me show you. So when you, if you go to look at this particular icon section now, the div I told you that is containing the two sets of icons, you understand? This icon, scroll icons 1 and scroll icons 2 are contained in this icon section, right? This icon section now, I give it a width of 200 pixels, 200%, sorry, 200% of the screen size. Listen now, this particular div now is contained in the icons general, which I give it 5%. So it's going to obey the width of its parent. You understand? So this icon is going to, this particular div is going to contain 200% of the parent div, right? So 200% is going to be, it's going to mean that it's going to be twice the width of the parent. If it was 100%, it's going to be the width of the parent, but since it's 200%, it's going to be like twice the width of the parent div. That means it's going to contain this particular one, which is 100%, and then another 100%, which is going to be sent under. You understand? So what we can see here is just half of it, which is 100%. And now what I did with that 200% is that I gave the scroll icon 1 50% of that 200%, right? Sorry, I gave the scroll icon 1 50% of that 20%, and scroll icon 2 50%. You understand? So you can see I gave it display flex. So it's as if it's this one, this scroll icon 1 section is going to take half of this one. The scroll icons 2 is going to take the remaining half. You understand? So half of it now, like I told you, is going to be the one we can see here. The other half is hidden under, right? So that is why we have an icon, so a set of icons under, right? So that is how it happens. So what you have to understand now is that we have some icons that are hidden under this place. You understand, that are hidden there because of the way we made it happen, because of the effect we give it here. You understand? So in order to make, so what we're going to do now, the logic we're going to use now is that we're going to program this particular button, this arrow button, in a way that when we click it, this particular set of icons will go out, and then the hidden ones will come out. You understand? This particular set of icons that we are seeing now will just go, let me get the pencil, we'll just go this way, right? Forgive my arrow. We'll just go this way, and then the ones that are hidden inside there will now come out here. You understand? So that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to make that happen with JavaScript, right? So let's go and get into JavaScript and make that happen, right? I'm going to minimize this thing so that we can code properly. So I'm going to get into JavaScript now. So what we're going to do is that we are going to pick some parameters. We're going to do the DOM manipulation now. We're going to pick some parameters from this particular the HTML side. So the first thing we're going to pick is that we're going to pick the general icon section, which is the section that we did this overflow hidden, right? We're going to pick it. How do we pick it? We're going to use documents dot query selector, and then we're going to open a bracket. Then we're going to select it as a class. You understand? Member is a class, so we're going to copy the name. Sorry, let's add the colon. then class. We're going to paste it there. So we're going to give it a name. Let's call it var icons. Sorry, icons menu. So we call it icons menu, and then the second parameter we're going to pick here, the second property we're going to pick here is that we are going to pick the arrow, right? We're going to pick the arrow, which is this arrow here, right? So that when we click it, it's going to make this one to move. You understand? So we're going to pick it so we can manipulate it using JavaScript. So we're going to pick it and look at it here. You can see the class name is right arrow. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to give it a name. Let's call it var next button. Okay, equal to document dot query selector, right? Open brackets and paste this. So we now have the two of them, right? These are the two main parameters we need to make this happen, right? So before we go ahead with this, I want to introduce a JavaScript method that is called scroll to. Right, this is a JavaScript method that allows the scrolling effect. Right, I'm going to comment this out. Just want to show it to you. So I'm going to choose this method. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to create a function. If you check here, you can see that I've already added an on-click event, right, to that button. I've added an on-click event, which is nest. I called it nest. Right, I'm going to copy it. The on-click event there is called nest, right? There are parameters we call events in JavaScript. They help us to make things happen. Like when something happens, when you click the button, what do you want to happen? That's why we call it on-click events. You understand? When you click this icon, what do you want to happen? You understand? That's what we're going to define now. So that on-click event, I'm going to create a function now, right? That's going to make take an effect when you click that button, right? Remember, we selected the button here. We called it next button. So I'm going to create a function, and I'm going to call this function. So I'm going to delete this. So I'm going to call this function the next. Remember the next that I gave it here, that I gave here. You have to give it the same name that you have on the on-click section. You have to give it the same name here. So I'm going to call it next. I'm going to open the brackets, and now I say when this button is clicked. Now, what do I want to happen? I will now first of all verify if the button was really clicked. All right, this is not really important, but I'm going to do it anyways. I'm going to say if right, this button, next button, which is this button here, right? I'm going to copy it and then I'm going to paste it here. We already have it there. If this button here is clicked, which is, if I just write it this way, it means if this button is true, because whenever you click it, it becomes true. Whenever you don't click it, it is false. So whenever you click this button, what do I want to happen? So this is what I want to happen now. I'm going to say return icons menu, which is the menu as I selected, which is the menu that's containing those navbar sections. I'm going to say let this menu, this icons menu, let it scroll to. I'm going to choose that method. Let it scroll to. Now, before we put anything into this bracket now, I want you to understand that this scroll to event always contains two parameters, right? The first parameter is going to be the X direction you want it to scroll to. The second parameter is the Y direction you want it to scroll to, right? Remember, X direction is the horizontal direction, right? The Y direction is the vertical direction. Those of us who did mathematics are supposed to know this by now, right? So you're going to remember when you check that menu, we want it to scroll in the X direction, right? Which is this direction. This is the X direction. We don't want it to scroll in the Y direction, which is direction. Nothing, we don't have any business with that direction. So we're going to work with the X direction only, right? So what we have to do first of all is to find out the width of this menu, so that when we click it, all this menu here, all this navigation bar here moves, and then the next one comes out. If you select anything less than the width of this from here to here, it's going to affect the icons that show up when you click this button, right? But because I want all the navigation, all these menus in the navigation bar to all go out, and then let a fresh icon come in, I'm going to find out the width of from here to this point, right? And then when you click this button, all these menu you can see here will now go under here. They will now go under here, and then the menu that is inside here will now come out, right? So let's find out the width of this section from here to here. Why we cannot use our CSS is because I used percentage there. You understand? I used percentage there. Let me show you. I used percentage. You can see 200%. The previous one I used 85%. So we can't use this. We have to use pixels, right? Or just any value that is not percentage. So let's use the inspect tab to do this. So if you watch, just be looking at this place, this top place, right? Be looking at this top place, be looking at this place, right? So if you hover on this place now, you can see that this arrow comes up. If you drag it, you can see that the measurement is showing. That measurement there is width to height, width to height. You understand? So we have at this point now we have 115 pixels, that is the width, and we have 635 pixels, which is the height. The width is this way, then the height is this way. That is the width of this screen entirely, right? So what I'm going to assume that if from here, right, to this place is 115, then from here to here should be around, let's say 900, 850. You understand? So I'm going to, that's just an assumption because I don't have any ruler to make a proper, precise calculation. So I'm going to just assume that, right? So let's just assume that it's going to be 860 pixels. That is the width of from here to here, right? So I'm going to go back to that scroll to method. I'm going to say I want you to scroll 850 pixels in the x direction and then 0 pixels in the y direction. You understand? 0 because I don't want you to scroll anywhere up or down. I just want you to scroll left or right. Apparently in this particular example, I want you to scroll left, right? So I'm going to only specify the x direction and not the y direction, right? So when you do this, you now call the function again. You now call the function, even though the function has been called here, you can even choose not to call it, it will still work. You've already called the function here. So let's just save it, right? Let's just save it and then go and see what happens when we click the button. First of all, let's close this place. Let's close the that section and then let's click this button and see what happens. As you can see, it has scrolled, but you can see that it doesn't have the animation scrolling effect because we removed that scroll behavior smooth. You understand? When you add this, when you put back this particular effect, then save, you can see it's called scroll behavior smooth. When you go back now and then you click it again, let's refresh. Did I save my code? It's supposed to refresh automatically. I'm gonna save this code. Now let's go back again and let's click it, right? When you click it now, you can see the scroll effect is now scrolling, right? You can also use this same effect now to add another button here so that when you click it, it now scrolls back. You just what you have to do to achieve that is when you add, when you let me do that right now. Let me do that right now. Just stay with me. Let me do that right now. Let me just go back and then I think I already have a button that is scrolling left, scrolling back left, right? This is it here. So I'm going to copy this button, copy it, and then let me see if I already edited it here. I think I did it hidden somewhere. So let's find it. The name is left arrow. Okay, I said display none. I'm going to say display block now so it will show up. Let's go back and see if it shows up. Okay, it shows up now. You can see, but it doesn't do anything. But the right one does something. It has already scrolled. I'm going to refresh and show you. Then if you click this one, it's refreshing now. Okay, so when you click this one, you see that it scrolls. So I'm going to add a function to this one now so that when you click it, it will scroll back. So let's do that together now. Let's do that together. So I'm going to create another function now. I'm going to create another function. I'm going to call it, remember I already gave this one an on-click event too. I'm going to call it previous, copy. I'm going to call it previous. First of all, let us target, let us get that button. First of all, let's call it prev button, prev. Let's copy the class, which is left arrow, and paste it here. Save. Now let's say, following the same method we used here, we'll say if this button is clicked, just paste it there. If it is clicked, then what do we want to happen? We want to return this same, let's copy this one. We want to return this same icon, and then we take key minus 850. You understand? Remember, this one makes it to go 850 plus 850, but this one will take key minus 850. Right? Let's save it and let's see if this works. Right? So it refreshes. Let us click this one. It goes 850. Let us click this one now. Minus 850. As you can see, that has worked. Right? Plus 850 minus 850. So it just drags it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So you can see it's not difficult. I'm going to leave a link to this particular code in the description so that you can access it if you want to. And I hope this video is helpful. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me via the comment section, right? And I will respond to your questions as soon as possible. Thank you, and I'll see you guys later. Have a great day.